For September the 18th, 2015, we talk about some TGS announcements, Super Mario Maker, and we ask you about the darkest choices you've made in games. Welcome to the 121st level. My name is Kole Ross.
I'm Jala.
I'm David Smith.
And I'm Ben Merkel.
And you're listening to The Level. It's a podcast for people who love video games. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us here this week. I want to take this opportunity at the start to do a little bit of cross-network promotion because I made something I'm very proud of.
Hex Crank?
No, that's still in the works. I need to come up for air for a second, and that's not. Yeah,
You're still proud of that, though.
Yeah, I'm still proud of the 4 articles I wrote for it. Trust me, I'm still anxious about it every morning when I wake up and I go to sleep thinking, okay, well, that's another day that I didn't do this thing. And then I just can't give myself permission not to feel like an asshole for that. No, a recent
we wouldn't want you to feel calm, Cole.
No, a recent episode of Epic Suffering, which we are dubbing the Zoo Dog Chronicles, where we covered Zoo Race last week. And then this week did a game called the Angel Quiz. It's something you need to listen to, but moreover, I made it so you could watch it. I put together a full hour-long Let's Play that kind of goes along with the plays the video from this Choose Your Own Adventure thing of the Angel Quiz. And it's up on the Duckfeed YouTube channel. So it's youtube.com/Duckfeed.tv. An hour-long Let's Play of one of the most batshit insane and genius and inspired things I have ever seen. Not the thing I made, but the thing we talk about. So awesome. So yes, that's what I want to lead with, because I want everybody like all engines go on that.
I think I'm still stuck on Zoo Dog.
Zoo Dog, I think, is what the developer calls himself.
Like as a personal noun?
Maybe. Like when you go to the contact form, or the contact page rather, it's at the top, it says, "Who is Zoo Dog?"
See, now I'm just imagining like the what is it? Who is John Galt?
Oh, we go there. Trust me.
Oh, you go there? Yes.
we get a good 5 minutes. I think even after the music rolls, we get a good 5 minutes on Zoo Galt. But
nice. As a tangent, this might be only funny if you're at all a fan of the Chronicles of Narnia, but sometime look up, there's like the Chronicles of Narnia as written by Ayn Rand, and it is pretty amazing.
Oh, wow.
It is the one of the funniest things I've recently read.
I bet you she is not kind to Edmund.
No, it includes the line, "Edmund burst into tears like a communist."
Pretty good. Oh, anybody have any anecdotes from this week?
I had actually for like the past 6 days I've been doing a extended martial arts seminar. So teacher came in from Malaysia to teach weapons techniques.
Okay.
As you do, you know. So yeah, that's been fun. It does turn out that having people try to stab you, even with plastic knives for 6 days on end, does take some mental toll. And I'm now completely exhausted, but you know.
So does your instructor play anything by Ubisoft? Is he going to go to Ubi Land or whatever it's going to be called?
I have though long maintained that like a number of the weapons, you know, are designed that part of the world, given its jungle, tended to kind of specialize in guerrilla warfare. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the weapons are designed for like assassin-y things. Actually, one of the weapons we learned within Indonesia is kind of associated with like hitmen and things like that. So I have long maintained that I actually think something like Indonesian Revolution would be a really good setting for an Assassin's Creed game.
They're never going to leave the West.
Yeah, and that's kind of sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Huh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry men jumped at you with knives.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not. He liked it.
At least they were plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, at least I did not, in fact, get real stabbed to death, because then I
And
wouldn't
nobody-
get the podcast.
Yeah.
Well, and nobody came at you with, like a giant dildo like it was Saints Row or anything. So you're cool. Like,
that was one room over. So we've got the usual kind of show for you this week. We got the brief, the multiplayer, and the grind. So let's get right into the brief, where we talk about news that is happening in the world of video games. I'm going to lead with one because Tokyo Game Show is happening right now, and as much as I'm happy to see stuff like, oh, there are actual games being developed on the Vita for the Japanese market, I hope some of them come over here, including Danganronpa 3, right? Like, super happy about that. No, predictably, I'm going to announce here that the Bloodborne expansion has been announced, and it's coming out on November 24th.
yay!
Yeah. So it's called The Old Hunters, and I broke one of my rules and I watched the trailer. It appears to be like a mixture. I don't know if it takes place in old areas or if they're trying to show off like the new weapons and builds. That's right, builds in old areas, such as like down in the sewers using a bow and arrow. What's a bow and arrow doing in a game about guns? I want to play that. I want to see what that does. But yeah, so that's coming out on the 24th, and then like a month later, they're putting out like a kind of Game of the Year edition, just called the Old Hunters edition. That comes with the game and the expansion itself. So I'm excited, obviously, mostly for logistical reasons, because it's good to know how to plan for the Bonfire Side Chat season.
Yep.
Yeah.
Keep the show going.
On that,
Kindle the fire.
on that note, I need to get back into Dark Souls. Whoops.
Have you been listening along?
I need to get back into playing it again. I took like a break because when I first started playing, I played basically every moment I could play that wasn't work or sleep.
Okay.
And then I was like, okay, run away. So I'll be back into it here pretty soon because I'm feeling the itch to go back in there and
Nice.
go do stuff. But yeah, like I'll be listening along as I go. So.
Cool. Yeah.
So-
good.
So this is maybe a little tangent, but I was actually thinking the other day about getting back into some of the Souls games. I realize that this is probably heretical, but do you know on the PC, is there any sort of like modding or anything like that?
Yeah, like modding is it's a pretty big deal in terms of either doing the like the DS fix, which is pretty much mandatory to like optimize the game and get the frame rate and the resolution right, because it kind of shipped a little bit broken, all the way up to kind of like aggression mods that make the game harder.
See, anything that can just allow me to bypass the to be heretical, asinine boss fights.
Oh, what? This is a bigger conversation that we can have in the brief.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
This sounds like something for the throwdown.
Take one. I was gonna say take that one outside.
Yeah. I don't know of any, I know ones that let you play as the bosses, but I am not sure. So, but there's a bunch of stuff out there. But yeah,
Playing as the gaping demon would probably be kind of an interesting experience.
So you play as the boss against who?
I don't know. I think it's like a co-op kind of thing, like
okay.
like adversarial.
Versus. Cool.
I've seen videos of it. I'm not quite sure how it works.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see here. Ben, what's your story?
All right. So my story is something that was announced at the TGS conference. But so Sony had a project called Project Morpheus, and it was revealed that is going to be their virtual headset named PlayStation VR. It's essentially the Oculus Rift, but PlayStation endorsed, I guess. And they announced a few different games that would be supported by it coming out in the future, including Final Fantasy XIV Online, which is a good one, and then a few other games, including Dynasty Warriors 7. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's good to have some kind of competition for Oculus, because otherwise you don't have any, like that's how tech gets better, is when there's some kind of competition driving for sales.
I kind of worry that we're going way too far in the other direction, though, because it seems like every country in .com has one. They're like Metal Gears.
It needs to be competitive but interoperable.
Yeah, there's a fine line between competitive and fragmented, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it was pretty cool that HD DVD existed, but so the Blu-ray could win out over something. But if there was just a complete glut, I don't know.
Yeah. I know. I feel like Final Fantasy 14 seems like a little bit of a weird call for that. Although Dynasty Warriors just seems like one of those things that's like, why did I not think of that before?
One thing that I want to see is, I just recently saw a post by listener Allison, of a Disney artist drawing in 3D with a VR headset. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, how there's usually some kind of, drawing game or whatnot, or drawing related type of doodling game or whatnot. I wonder if they're going to have something like that come out on consoles and stuff like that as well. That would be neat. For, just general use, not necessarily Disney level expensive software.
Isn't that what Little Next Gen Planet or whatever they're calling it?
Dreams?
Yeah, it's going to be.
I don't know.
A little bit. That's more for 3D scenario design.
I'm just hoping it doesn't go the way of the PlayStation Move. Was that what it was called?
Yes.
The Wii knockoff, or the PlayStation Eye, which was like the Microsoft's knockoff. So, yeah.
The knockoff of the Kinect. I'm worried that this is going to be I think around 2010. Let's say 2010 or 2011. Sony released this crazy little 21-inch widescreen monitor that was meant to be a consumer grade or consumer facing 3D television, and it was specifically geared toward games, because there was a mode, and mostly it was just Sony games that supported it, where instead of being in 3D, one person wore a pair of glasses and saw one set of alternate frames, and another person wore a pair of glasses, saw another set of alternate frames, and they each were seeing their own screen, because the way that
screen looker.
Exactly. And that's a cool idea. I think that that is a great way to do couch co-op, right? Which is coming back in a big bad way. But because it was its own little evolutionary dead end, those things just exist either in landfills or in GameStop back rooms.
It's kind of like all the random stuff that Sega came up with, and they just came up with it way too early.
The activator and
buried
stuff
in the desert.
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of, it's funny how they I dislike both names equally. Morpheus is way too goofy of a name for this, and PlayStation VR is way too generic.
I know.
It's descriptive, but I just doesn't.
Zero brand awareness. Yeah.
I appreciate Morpheus. I feel like I'm tired of crappy names.
I mean,
at work, our cyclotron is named Sarah.
SERA, from Final Fantasy 13.
No, like a person's name.
Oh, Sarah, yeah.
It's no, that should be Atom Smasher 5000.
But I mean, it's one of those things. I understand why it's named Morpheus, because of the god of dreams and all that. That predates what I associate Morpheus with, which is Larry Fish. From The Matrix. I picture is this going to be a set of weird ear bar-less glasses that I pinch on my nose?
Hey, the Prince Nez glasses, whatever, a badass.
Huh. So we're kind of we're in the middle of Tokyo Game Show. So if somebody came out and said like, oh, Apple's buying Nintendo, and we're not talking about it, forgive us. but yeah, those are kind of the two big stories, and then a bunch of little things that came out of it. Jala, how about you?
I first off want to talk about a follow-up to last week's news article from me. Those were the socially conscious games. I played a couple of them. I played Decisions That Matter and Parable of the Polygons, and both of those are free to play on their websites. So go check out the link from last week's news article to get to all of that. Decisions That Matter. It has an interesting art style and type of movement. Like Kole had said last week, it is kind of like a visual, like a graphic novel, moving comic, motion comic type of style to it. It's kind of preachy, but at the same time, it's also really realistic. The reactions that all of the characters have aren't canned or unnatural, and the choices that you have to make are basically the types of reactions that most college kids generally have in the first place. So it feels pretty natural, and it does something really interesting if you get to the end of the scenario. So like I said, it's fairly short, under an hour. I would definitely recommend going through and just clicking through it and, seeing what happens, because it's kind of interesting. I'd like to actually see other games made in this same kind of style. Not necessarily the same subject matter, but the same style. Other one, the Parable of the Polygons. It's also free to play. You can adjust the settings to increase or decrease the tolerance level of dissimilar polygons. It's really, really fun for times when you just want to zen out. And they have the source code available on the site. So I absolutely just wish somebody would make an app so I could play it on the phone. That's all I want. I like that. It's fun. So that's my follow-up from last week. But then also, I have another one is similar, but also slightly different theme. Path to Luma is a free mobile puzzle game for iOS and Android made by NRG, a supplier of renewable energy in partnership with Phosphor Games. It has really good sound design, the sound effects and the music and everything. It's all really striking when you pick up the game, not because it's so fast-paced or whatever, but just because it's definitely a cut above what I usually find on mobile games. The art is 3D, but a blocky polygonal kind of aesthetic. The puzzles take place on the abandoned worlds of the Chroma, who are a people that used all the resources and left the planets in ruin. You are Sam, a sustainable augmentation model, and you have been charged with the task of saving these worlds by powering the remaining outposts with solar energy, wind energy, water energy, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a Captain Planet type of thing, but you have a solar spear, and when it moves into you basically move the planet around, and when the solar spear is shoved into the power outlet and put into sunlight, it blossoms into a flower, which is really cool. And so there's like solar panels and stuff on it, and it's a puzzle. Like you have to go through and like charge batteries and move stuff around to get the outpost to power, and there's apparently like 3 hours of gameplay on this thing.
So the message is all we need for alternative energy sources to be viable is superpowers.
You just need a solar spear.
Yeah.
So yeah, solar spear sounds like a fucking Halo final boss. Huh.
Right?
See,
well, you just walk around with a stick and you shove it in the ground and it does stuff. And,
What age group is this kind of aimed at?
It's not really aimed at a specific age group. I went through and played some of it, and it's actually pretty fun. Like, it's a nice little puzzle game, totally free. They don't actually have any ads or reminders saying, like, NRG, you need to buy energy from us. They said basically that they just want to raise awareness about, using renewable energy just by way of, like, passively getting it into your head while you play this game. So,
you got it all wrong. You got to have a market. You gotta have a market. You gotta be aiming for middle-aged kids between 15 and 25.
No, like it's not overly cutesy.
Wow, how
but
did you pack that much of a lifetime of smoking into one voice impression?
I feel like I'm getting cancer just from listening to that.
I see what I do is I reach into a pocket dimension and I pull out somebody else's larynx. No, that's obnoxious. I'm sorry. so it's pretty audience neutral. It seems then.
Yeah, it's pretty audience neutral. It's had about 1.5 million downloads. The website, thepathtoluma.com, has a making of video and some other random stuff about other aspects of making the game, the concept behind it, and all of that. There's apparently a lot of Easter eggs that you can find in clicking around, but I haven't found any of those yet. But anyway, it's just like another one of those that's related to the other stuff I was talking about in previous episodes, where this is another one that's supposed to be raising awareness for a thing, but it's actually a game that is fun. So
it's so funny because when we were young, like the edutainment, like PSA style stuff, it was like so prosaic. It was either don't burn this forest down. Right? Or it was don't dump any toxic waste. Like me as an 8-year-old could have done anything about that.
yeah,
Captain Planet, like you're talking to the wrong person. And I don't know why you're talking to me through a Burger King kids meal toy. I'm sorry, kids club toy.
Well, the whole idea is that you grow up and then don't throw toxic waste in whatever.
I still, as a 27-year-old man, I don't have access to toxic waste, and people with toxic waste, I don't hold much sway with them.
See, I feel like that's just a personal, life decision. You need to maybe step back and rethink. Like, why don't I have access to toxic waste?
Now who's holding all the cards?
What do you got against waste, Cole?
See, the thing that I don't know why. For some reason, I started watching Let's Play of one of the Dead Space games, and like their opening is like, big on the like, oh, humanity used up all its resources, and then it goes to space and like strips down planets and like wantonly uses their resources. And, like, I don't quite get that. It's like, we're talking about spaces made out of, like, literally uncountable, lifeless rocks. Like, stripping them for their resources has no more value one way or the other.
Yeah, as long as you don't shit where you eat, you're fine.
Right.
Well, see, like, overall, I brought that one up because that one is probably, that and Parable of the Polygons are probably, because they're both, like, puzzle games that don't have any real storyline behind them. Like, they are pretty easy to play through without them being preachy or whatever, and it's not, like, it's fun, it's an enjoyable game, and it's just, that one was just totally random, and I saw it, and I'm like, huh, okay, well,
Now I really want Captain Planet to come back.
Oh, no, you don't. Not that green mullet.
No, I don't get it.
That would be a green Skrillex haircut. Even my fucking disdain is outdated. It'd be a Macklemore haircut. Skrillex hasn't been relevant for 5 years. Fuck me.
See, I
if anybody needs me, I'll be at the bottom of this well. Go ahead.
Well, drink.
I don't get though. Like if I were like Greenpeace or something like that, I feel like Captain Planet, despite being a fictional character, has single-handedly done more for environmentalism than like Greenpeace and every other environmentalist organization combined.
I don't know.
I know. I just feel like if I was in charge of these organizations, number one on my docket would be, fund the Captain Planet remake.
Hearts and Minds.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I mean...
Wait, they're going to add somebody with a Minds ring in this one?
Oh, no.
No, there's a dude with a Minds ring in the previous one. They just called it Hearts.
David, what's your story?
Sure. My story is just that apparently there are not going to... the creator of Five Nights at Freddy's has announced that there is not going to be another horror Five Nights at Freddy's game, that he feels that the story is complete. However, the next game of this series is going to be a RPG. His quote is that I guess I'm reading the Polygon article, and in their kind of weird paraphrase of his quote, he wanted to use the characters because they're so near and dear to his heart. Which strikes me as weird because this is the guy who has admitted to having like night terrors of the characters from his creation.
They're near and dear to his heart because he keeps his wallet in his breast pocket.
Okay, fair enough.
Like good on the guy for the success that he's had, but it's just kind of like, oh, he's going to keep doing it because that's the way to get YouTube teens on. Like, it's smart, it's shrewd.
True. So yeah. I don't know. I'm kind of interested to see how this plays out.
So RPG seems weird. Like, wouldn't it make more sense as like a theme park management sim?
Yeah. I feel like the phrase RPG is probably vague enough that it could be that. I think this could actually be really cool is if they did it like as a Freddy Fazbear the game, like kind of an in-world like the continuing adventures of Freddy, and then had the kind of the weird stuff be sort of on the periphery. Mm-hmm. Like I think that could actually be kind of witty, but
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I do know that my understanding is like if you go to like Dragon Con, which was like last week, week before, and places like that, there's a significant fandom around these characters.
Yeah, it's popped up.
Yeah, so yeah,
it's pretty smart. Yeah. I'll be curious about it. I mean, hopefully it's not going to be too scary to play like the other ones are for me.
See, you do a horror blog.
Yeah, I know, but it's still too scary. Like it's
the scariness in this one will be the pay-to-play model.
Hey Ben, did you put your microphone into a suitcase on the other side of the room?
I may have rotated a bit.
Okay, cool.
Sorry.
Multiplayer.
Now it is time for the multiplayer, where we ask you, the listeners, to interact with us, and you are kind enough to respond. Let's see here. Jala, you put the question out this week, so why don't you repose it to the listeners?
Well, actually, I think it was Dennis, but that's
fine. Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah. What is the darkest thing you've done in a game knowing you could just hit the reset button, and did you regret it? And this is also thanks to listener Ollie for suggesting the question. So thank you, Ollie.
Yeah. And I'm going to pick up with Kian. Yeah, that I totally messed that up. And like, I'm pretty sure that Kian has actually told me how to pronounce their name, but I messed it up anyway. So I'm sorry, Kian. But let's see here. It says, I've lost track of the amount of NPCs I've centered my crosshair on, just to see if the game would let me get away with killing them. The Souls series quickly put a stop to that. Yeah, because when they stay dead. Except in 2, where you have to pay a price.
Going off of Xian's, I feel like that could almost be a potential future multiplayer question. Like, what is the most important NPC you've ever accidentally killed? Or, like, what is the action you've ever done that's most disrailed the storyline of a game? Or,
I
that
totally
sort
have
of idea.
It would all be Morrowind.
Yeah, but I think Morrowind takes like the Metal Gear Solid 3 approach of like if you do anything too bad, you create a time anomaly or whatever.
No, you're thinking of like Oblivion, where they're just going to get like knocked out, Oblivion or Skyrim. Whereas with Morrowind, you can kill plot important NPCs, and they just give you a message that says like the fate has been sealed or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then you have to find the back way to do the main quest.
That. But the quickest I ever broke a game was in Sniper Elite 2. But that's another story. We're not talking about that.
Jala, you're next with Chase.
The Sims was a dark playground for my brother and I growing up. Removed pool ladders, one by one rooms, houses with entirely too many chairs and fireplaces and not enough exits. These ideas and the Rosebud cheat helped us create some truly grim scenarios.
Yeah, like that's like The Sims is pretty much just the Milgram prison experiment, right?
Yeah.
No,
Murder
because
simulator.
the Milgram prison experiment, someone tells you to do awful things.
No, like you're thinking of the one where will people obey authority? Like will they?
Okay.
You're thinking of the Stanford one. No, the Milgram was like, okay, we arbitrarily give a certain number of people complete authority.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I forgot we live in a world where I have to remember which of the studies that make me lose faith in humanity I'm talking about.
I think people's faith in humanity is a little bit too fragile if BuzzFeed is to be believed. Everything is about the faith in humanity. Ben, what does Murph say?
Murph says, I've definitely cleared out entire towns in the Fallout games. Generally, I don't play like this long. Most of my evil playthrough of games get abandoned or become redemption stories. Yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
See, knowing Murph, I kind of wish he would do like Let's Plays or whatever, because I can just imagine his like staccato monologues of like a Far Cry redemption story.
Just working everything back into that meta narrative.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Like killing a whole town. It's kind of funny because I don't know if that counts. As weird as that.
Is this like the 1,000 deaths is a statistic, a single death is a tragedy sort of thing?
Yes, and for me it was Tuesday. But I'm not. Yeah, I just like even like as far back as like Fable, or not as far back, but like Fable is like, okay, yeah, I'm just gonna kill this whole village. Boop a doop a doo. There's no real kind of like significance to that to me. You know, just because these are just little computer men who don't do anything except clap for you when you fart. Which I mean, I'm grateful and everything, but.
Okay, so I want to bring this up because it's going to come up sooner or later, but Megaton, yes or no?
I mean, on my evil playthrough, yes.
Okay, and you felt nothing?
Well, yeah, I held the gun in my hand. No, it was just kind of like, that's kind of fucked up. is really all like the only thing that I felt when I looked at that. I was like, okay, huh. Mm. And then you went back and Moira was a ghoul, and it's like, that's kind of funny.
I ruined your existence.
But she's still so upbeat.
Oh, was she the chick that wanted to write the guide?
Yeah, she was like the tutorial.
Yeah. I read into the like debatably evil versions of that where you just like get her to abandon her dreams, and that's really, really dark.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here, David. What does Steven say?
Steven says, to avoid spoilers, I won't go into a decision you make in Bloodborne, but Gary and Cole speak directly to why it made me so uncomfortable in the last episode of Bonfireside Chat, which is on the Canehurst. Other than that, even though it wasn't necessarily a choice, what happens at the end of The Last of Us was so conflicting. In the moment, I was ready to kill everyone in my way, even unarmed individuals. But after the smoke had settled, I realized how quickly I was ready to throw away the world for someone I cared about. Granted, this is a work of fiction, but it was something that had me thinking long after it was over.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's funny, like when it railroads you into something for the specific purpose of making you kind of second guess. I mean, like that could be manipulative in one way, but like otherwise, you know, it's funny in a game like The Last of Us, it works because you're not so much like directing it or writing it or even being that person. You're just kind of guiding them along, and you're kind of like party to the decision that they're going to make.
Right. Well, I feel like calling that manipulative would basically
make all fiction manipulative.
Huh?
It would make all fiction manipulative.
Yeah, or I was gonna say all art. Like, the point of art or whatever is to make you feel a thing.
When I say manipulative, it's not I'm not saying it inherently as a bad thing. It just means that it's taking a bit more of a heavy hand than games ought to, or at least the spirit of the question.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, is would lead you toward. Let's see here. Kilo says, it's not the most abhorrent thing I've done in a game, but when Butch came to me for help in the Fallout 3 opening, I killed him and his cowering mother. Jesus. See, that's different because Butch is a character.
See, can I get some backstory on this? Because I haven't played Fallout 3.
Butch is like he's one of your vault companions. Like he's just somebody there. He's like the bully, but he's got this awesome like 50s greaser kind of. Because he's like the lead tunnel
the
snake.
awesome jacket.
Yeah. And so you kill him and take his jacket. And I'm like, fuck you. But yeah, okay. Kilo continues, I was new to that level of freedom, and it didn't seem like a big deal at the time. But as I went through the game, I felt worse and worse about it. It still makes me feel kind of gross.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know. I think the jacket was worth it, and he was kind of a jerk.
But eventually he comes around. Like, if you actually help him, he becomes a solid bro.
Oh, whoa. Wait, what?
What?
He pops that leather jacket collar upwards.
Yes. I mean, not like a bro in the bro sense, but like a bro, like a solid bro.
Okay.
It's your bro.
A bro, not a bro.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about the inflection. It's kind of like Vietnamese. Let's see here. Jala, what does David say?
David says, taking all of the non-lethal options in Dishonored. Despite it being the low chaos option, pretty much every single one of them leads to a lifetime of hell and probably a few suicides for the victims. A swift death would have been less painful. Agree.
Yep.
See, this may or may not be something to edit out of the podcast for being too whatever, personal or whatever. For me, killing someone someone who's evil is innately the worst punishment they could get. So I feel like games like Dishonored, I kind of perceive the moral choice differently than what's probably intended.
Yeah, I mean it's specifically so ironic. You know, like there are people that you like sell into slavery.
Right.
Like it's pretty. Yeah. Like it gets a little I have no mouth and I must scream kind of stuff, and like poetically it's repugnant.
Yeah.
I mean, poetically, you know, divorced of any other kind of like personally held conviction.
Yeah. No. I'm more just saying. I think it's kind of interesting. That's just aside. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they at least ironic punishments?
Mostly, yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think Dante says that's all right then.
Yeah. I mean, and in that sense, you are acting as like this weird Old Testament force for a Lovecraftian other being.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
I still choose to believe that this is just Steampunk the Crow.
Kind of. Let's see here. Ben, there we go. What does Mike say?
Mike says GTA style open world games are usually full of awful shit you can do for giggles. I'm usually detached from it, but the last time I remember something getting through that barrier was Saints Row 2. Even though the series would turn into a walking, winking joke in later entries, that one was still slightly more grounded. Namely, your character is in fact a vicious, murderous sociopath. You have a good time with your crew, but some of the scenes reveal your character as a bankrupt, power-mad murderer with zero empathy. The tension worked for me in a way that I'm not sure is replicable, but I'm left feeling as though the boss is a decidedly worse person than your Trevors or CJs from GTA. It's probably why even now Saints Row 2 remains my favorite game of that particular genre.
Yeah, I really need to play Saints Row 2, actually. Like, I'm sure if I beelined through the story, I would be able to experience it, but that is the fact that it is so highly regarded, even with how cool 3 and 4 are, makes me think that there's something there.
Yeah. I know I've read some of like the backstory of Saints Row 2, and yeah, it is kind of weird. There is some, at least from what I've read, just some crazy dark shit that happens.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit plastered over by the fact that some of the missions require you to drive a sewage truck down a street and spray them with shit.
Well, I think one of my favorite parts of Saints Row 4 so far is that the opening monologue pretty much directly references that when they when they talk about the kind of cognitive dissonance between that Saint says in their words puckish rogues and vicious psychopaths.
Yep. Let's see here. I wrote the names down in the wrong order on my little sheet. David, what does Ali say?
Sure. Ali says, while not evil, I brought the first grunt in cannon fodder, who's named Jules, all the way through the game. He went from scrub to God of War. I love that little guy. To keep him safe, I benched him for the last few missions, but our whim took him on the final mission. One unexpected grenade later, and boom, General Jules, gone. Autosave kicked in. Gone. Forever. It'd been nearly 20 years, and it still haunts me.
He just salutes his picture every morning as he walks out the door.
Can anyone? I get basically the idea, but can anyone give me like a brief background on cannon fodder? I'm not familiar.
I had to Google image search it, and I'm seeing what appears to be a very grim. It might be the game over scene. It looks like a military cemetery with just a whole bunch of like unmarked white crosses along a hill. Looks like Arlington, but the actual game itself appears to be like a top down kind of tactical strategy kind of game.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Huh. Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like I kind of like that one. In terms of just being kind of a it's kind of the look what you've done moment, Well,
I'd say it's like Goose dying at the end of Top Gun, like
right.
Like he's been your best bud the whole way, and like that's the motivation,
I was listening to a podcast where they were talking about doing a movie interruption of Top Gun and saying how they could not get laughs for the following 5 to 10 minutes after Goose died because it just was too troubling for the audience.
Yeah.
Needs more beach volleyball.
Let's see here. I'll pick up with Sam, who writes in saying, after getting bored with making a character that looks like me in The Sims, I made another character who imprisoned everyone who went into his house. As long as you sleep on a different floor from your graveyard, ghosts won't wake you up. Good to know. Got too weird when the Sim me showed up, and they immediately became best friends. High five.
I just love this post just because there's no segue of like I just love that it's like as long as you sleep on the different floor, anyone who's died doesn't haunt you. Not that I'm saying that was a problem, but
ghost hacks. Ghosts hear very slowly, so you have to make sure that you speak in a pronounced way. They experience time differently. This will help you get along with them better. Ghost hacks. Ghost hacks. Make sure that you don't have any kind of open books because they will inhabit the book and turn it into a nightmare world that will suck you in because that's the only way they can play with you. Ghost hacks.
No one say anything. I want to see how long it keeps going.
What else we got?
Ghost hacks. Make sure that you take all your knives out of the sink after you wash them because they try and throw them at you. This is their way of, again, playing. They're very playful scamps. Ghost hacks.
I think my favorite ghost hack I heard growing up is that the way to keep from being, haunted or at least jump scared by ghosts is to place your shoes pointing, side by side, pointing different directions. Because, of course, as anyone who's seen like a 90s, Saturday morning cartoon, the goal of the ghost is he sneaks up behind you, scares you, and you like jump up, turn 360, and like land in your shoes and run off. But if your shoes are pointing in different directions, he doesn't know which way he needs to scare you for that to happen. So he's just going to give up.
Ghost hacks.
Ghost hacks. Ghost hacks. Think of everything that has ever died on this planet Earth. Think of how limited the surface area, the inhabitable surface area is, and consider that their spirits are stacked one on top of the other, overlapping each other in the ethereal plane. Right now, you are breathing ghosts, and you are exhaling ghosts with slightly less oxygen inside of them. Ghost hacks.
Wait, so it's like the
world is
inhuman
crowded.
centipede?
The world is crowded. Basically, what I'm saying is the very ether that we walk through is made up of ghost particles. Ghost hacks. Okay, I'm done with that goof. That was fun. Let's see here.
And on that note,
Jala, what does Franz say?
Franz says, kicking a chicken in Fable. I felt bad about it for days. I really suck at playing the bad guy.
So you're the chicken chaser. I thought your hands would be bigger.
Is that some kind of weird? Is that a euphemism? Chicken chaser?
I honestly, I have no idea. Like that was, you could change your title, and the default title was chicken chaser, and that was like something NPCs would say, but I have no idea why. I just assumed that the Mole Nuke had a thing for chickens.
I don't know.
It's British language, man. All bets are off.
I remember like Rare released a game for the Xbox 360 called Grabbed by the Ghoulies, and I had no idea that was like just a wave that they were marketing a game towards kids whose title just meant like grabbed by the testicles.
I see what they did there.
Like ghoulie is a euphemism.
See, the moment that you're like, is this a euphemism for something? That immediately brings everyone up to going, huh.
Yeah. How can I fit balls into this?
Thinking about it.
Let's see here. Ben, what does Amanda say?
Amanda says, when playing through The Sims as a high school student, I got curious and bored. I created a new person who I named Mr. Dapper Dandy, who I then trapped in a house full of what I believe were fireplaces and stoves and no windows or doors, and then asked him to cook. He inevitably caused a fire, but despite his perilous environment, he didn't pass on into some oblivion. Sorry, I need to reread that. But despite his perilous environment, shouldn't he have died? Anyway, I felt so guilty for this moment of darkness that I paused, built him a new house, and worked to improve his skills and improve him to Lady Sims and
Introduce him to Lady Sims?
Introduce him to Lady Sims in his community. Sorry, am I misreading the didn't for did? Because it sounds like he died.
He did not pass into oblivion. He skipped straight to Skyrim. But yeah, no, he didn't bugger off the mortal coil, and instead, joined the dating community.
Ghost hacks.
Yeah, ghosts. A lot of Sim stories.
A lot of monsters listening to this podcast.
I think like the most dangerous thing I ever did with a Sim was like buy them a grill before they were ready for it.
You never drowned a Sim, Cole?
No.
I have.
You always remember the first Sim you drown.
It never gets easier.
So it's always the hardest, actually. Yeah.
It's always the hardest, but it never gets easier.
So we're out of time for this section here, but we got to make our round around us, right? Jala, I want to hear yours.
I would say that mine is actually very recent. It leads into my grind, actually. When playing my most recent run through Leviathan Last Day of the Decade, I was shooting for an evil run because when we were talking about it last time, I was asked whether it changed the story to be evil or just added flavor, and I wanted to find out. So I've been trying to play an evil person just to find that out. Well, I had to push a cat-like proto-primal fisherman. Proto-primals are basically the poor people that are quasi-animalistic. They're like the lowest caste of society. Anyway, I pushed him into the water and he was drowning, and it stops and gives you the option to save him or let him drown, and I let him drown because I was trying to do the evil playthrough, and it was terrible.
Oh.
It's not my natural disposition to do that, but I wanted to see like what happened and if I would get killed by the tree or what. So, the end.
It is probably good that most gamers have that reaction where it's really hard to do an evil playthrough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still maintain that the NSA should, if they really want to make the world a better place, should keep track of the people that successfully do evil playthroughs in some of these games.
But I mean, there's no way for them to measure your intent. Like if you're just trying to see, like I want, there are whole quest lines in Fallout 3 that depend on you nuking a town full of like nice people. But like if you're just trying to get to the content.
Well,
Yeah.
and then too, it's just pretty funny. Like when you talk about The Sims and you just see everybody's reactions, and so many people, if you just give them the little sandbox, they're just gonna try it out to see what happens. Like how many of those people who were doing the stuff in Sims were doing that just to see how much they could get away with?
Oh yeah,
versus,
I'm obviously I'm joking.
yeah.
Ben, how about you? I think that you're gonna have a good answer for this.
Maybe. I mentioned The Sims. Like I've drowned people and burned people before, or whatever. Again, just to see what happens. See the Grim Reaper come out and pick them up out of the pool. I know Knights of the Old Republic. I did do one evil playthrough of that, and that does take a lot of restraint. Where it's like you're presented with a good or bad choice. And then if you choose the bad choice, you're presented to either like double down or back out of it, So you have to be really committed to that evil playthrough if you want to do it.
But a true gambler knows you always hit on dark side.
Yeah, dark aces, yeah. But I think the worst one I can think of is the opening of episode 2 of The Walking Dead, and it's not even a bad choice, right? It's like the nice choice, but it's like a sacrifice. But I felt bad about that. I felt real bad about that. The beginning of Walking Dead 3, I also felt bad about that too.
Can you provide a little bit more? That's when you cut off the person's leg, right?
Yeah. So there's 2 spoilers. So spoilers for The Walking Dead. Just mute for 30 seconds.
But I mean, people know that this kind of stuff happens in The Walking Dead. So, there's somebody who's in a trap, and you have to decide whether or not to cut off his leg, right?
Yeah, and no matter what, he gets eaten by zombies, man.
Right.
So if you choose the try and save him option, you saw through his leg and then watch him get eaten by zombies. So it's terrible. And then at the beginning of episode 3, it's also like a bad choice where it's like you see someone getting caught by zombies, and you can either shoot the person, put them out of their misery, and not have as much time to get supplies, or you can let them get eaten by the zombies so you have more time to get medicine, and you hear her screams as you're collecting the medicine. Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, that feels bad.
There's no option like try to save the person?
There's put them out of her misery, but she'd already been bitten, I believe, is the context of this.
See, I never liked the viral zombie thing. It always struck me as kind of dumb.
For me, the Walking Dead thing is just there's so many bad things going on that I just kind of become mostly immune to it at a certain point. Like in the when you go to the farm, that whole segment in the farm really dramatically affected me, and then after that I didn't really feel anything about it, any of the rest of it or the sequel. So
Yeah.
I think the only other thing I want to share is I know in GTA 4 when that first came out, the first time I shot a cop, I remember that. Where it wasn't a dramatic death or anything.
Yeah.
It's just collapse, and you're like, oh shit, I feel bad about that.
I feel that way in Metal Gear, actually.
Okay.
Because when you when you shoot somebody and they fall down, there's a difference between if they're incapacitated or dead.
Yeah.
And
you gotta finish the job.
Yeah, and so at that point, I'm playing as big boss, right? So I'm gonna walk up there and I'm gonna 2-tap them, right, to take them out. But I could fold in them, but would I rather basically I would be giving them a sky burial.
That's an interesting choice to do. I like that.
Yeah, but no, I just just pull out my silenced rifle and then because I can't stand watching them writhe around and hold their leg as their femoral artery just bleeds out.
That's right, and make noise and give away your position.
Yeah, or radio in. It's bad,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to be fair, wouldn't that be in your best interest? Because then you're using up your enemy's resources to try to medevac the guy.
No, they never try to medevac them. It's more just a matter of him. When they call attention, they're not trying to save him; they're trying to kill you.
Huh.
But that's interesting though. There hasn't been a game where you use like guerrilla warfare tactics. It seems like
where you kill somebody to like make them
shoot for the leg to weaken the troop. You know,
yeah, it's like a little bit, but just kind of like it's like a World War I strategy. Just like hurt somebody and then leave them in no man's land and just use them as bait to get them out of the trenches, right?
Yeah,
as they scream. Yeah. God, life sucks. Let's see here, David. How about you?
Honestly, I'm not sure I have a particularly good answer for this. Partially because like I tend to probably to access play good runs on games. And I feel like unfortunately there's either games that like I'm going to do a good run on, or games that I don't care enough to be evil, if that makes sense. I'd say about the closest would probably be like, games like Infamous, where like there definitely came a point where I just like stopped caring about civilian casualties in my godlike lightning throwing contests with enemies.
Yeah.
So
you just became inured to it.
Yeah. So like I would say that's the big the biggest thing I would cite would be like, or there's definitely things in like Dying Light where like it eventually became not worth my time to save people from zombies.
Yeah, I think the game definitely frames it, like killing somebody can be like a tragedy in a game, or it can be like people can be like fodder,
Right. Well, yeah, I think it's important to like look at what the game's doing. Like the Saints Row games, at least after 2, I would argue that like all of the legitimately evil things you do I would argue aren't really meant to be taken seriously at all. I feel like it sort of depends on what the game's intending for you to do.
Yeah. I'm going to finish this out with mine. This is going to be spoilers for the end of Mass Effect, but you really should just start with Mass Effect 2. But the end of the game, there's a big climactic battle, and there's a choice that I had no idea actually would have as big of an effect as it did, where basically there's a gigantic capital cruiser ship that has the entire basically galactic senate on it. And there is this besieged basically colony that is the hub for all galactic civilization, and your choice is whether to divert your resources to save this capital ship, or to try and fight and save more people on the colony itself, right? And so like for Mass Effect 1, it's this whole big weird allegory for America, blah blah blah, humanity, we're taking our place in the in the galactic society, etc. And the renegade option is to sacrifice the ship to save all the people on the Citadel. But that is like the human supremacist kind of move, whereas the Paragon one, which is better for everybody, is to let a whole bunch of innocent people die while like 4 people are saved by your military stuff. And so like I'm thinking like utilitarian, I'm gonna do what saves the most people, because there are probably some capable leaders down there. Screw these people, they've led us to this mess. But then it's
They've
like
made their bed. Yeah.
So then throughout the entire rest of that playthrough, which lasted for like 6 years until like Mass Effect 3 came out, like I was the shepherd who like let all these people die through political machinations to try and get humanity to the council. It's like, you know what? I thought I was making the right decision, but you're making me feel like shit. I don't know. That's the worst thing. I don't really mess around with aside from raising whole villages in Fable. I don't torture Sims. I manipulate them emotionally, but I don't torture them. I never kill them.
I feel like there's a lot a lot of provisions on that statement. You're like, I don't do anything evil, other than raising cities in Fable and torturing Sims, but only emotionally.
That's nothing they can't bounce back from. Oh, thank you everybody for responding to that question. If you would like to get in on these, check out facebook.com/the level podcast, where you can see the questions go up on Tuesday afternoons.
The grind.
Now it's time for the grind, where we talk about the games we've been playing over the past week or so. We've got the same loadout as last time, so there's nobody I need to defer to. So I'm going to start us out.
All right.
Sorry, guys. I'm going to take charge. Mario Maker.
Yay!
Ooh. How is it?
It's pretty fucking good.
Is there a campaign in it at all?
Okay, so that's pretty cool, right? Because it's kind of funny because we've been playing Mario games our entire lives, most of us, and we've kind of become like fluent in Mario level design as consumers, in a way, but not as creators, because most Mario levels are actually pretty dense with like very deliberate decisions that have been made in order to kind of like usher you into a certain kind of play, right? To where it's not very obvious, but they are guiding you and they are teaching you with a bunch of different things. Like there's a great video that came out kind of in the lead up to this of Miyamoto kind of walking through like the way World 1 is designed to teach somebody who has never played a platformer before, because it's Mario, right? The first Mario game, or this kind of platformer rather, everything that they need to know in like the first couple of screens of that. And so it's a little bit subtle when you go into it, because who knows what you're supposed to like get from like Butter Bridge 2, right? But there's stuff there. The campaign mode in Super Mario Maker, in terms of the Nintendo design levels, it's something called like the 10 Mario Challenge, where you have 10 lives as Mario, and you're supposed to get through 8 levels, right? Like these little miniature campaigns. And each of these levels is kind of designed around one central theme or concept to either show you like, hey, this is what the rotating fireball chains, how they work. Like here's a whole bunch of different lengths and they're rotating in different ways, and like here's how it goes around it. And that is combined with a bunch of other challenges to kind of say, hey, get it? See how this works? But each of those is incredibly focused down to one particular thing. Either that exists in the regular Mario kind of canon, or the weird mashup rules of this new Mario, kind of like, okay, so you can drag mushrooms onto enemies to make them big. What kind of impact does that have? You would never see this kind of enemy in this kind of world in any other Mario game, except now you can do it. What does that look like, right? So it's actually very shrewdly done to kind of like give you a look at that. And it ramps up in difficulty in a really nice way. And what's fun is after you beat all of these levels, they're added to your level bot or your course bot, so you can go in and start like messing around with them and see how they're put together.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
And on the fly, can you change the physics of the game in between the different Mario games?
You can't do it on the fly. It's not like a Halo Special Edition or a Monkey Island Special Edition, because I think that there are some considerations, like as 8-bit Mario is Mario 1 Mario, you can't hold anything, you can't grab anything, whereas in all the other ones you can. As New Super Mario Brothers, you can grab onto walls and do wall jumps and stuff. You can't switch between them on the fly. When you start creating a level, you kind of have to dictate what world you're kind of developing for, and you can switch around, but you have to understand that when you switch midstream, you may need to like change your approach to how things are spaced, or like something that would have been really challenging in the Mario 3 set will be trivial in the new Super Mario Brothers set, and so on.
Okay.
Yeah. The creation tools work really well. They're very intuitive, except when they're not. Because it is entirely textless, sometimes you have to kind of intuit what you're supposed to do. And there's a manual in there, thankfully, but it doesn't really hip you to that until a little while after. But like you can do things like it'll show you a Goomba, right? but in order to make him like a jumping Goomba, you have to drag the Goomba onto the stage, and you have to drag down a pair of wings to him, and he will all of a sudden have wings. And that applies to like pretty much everything else. If you want this to fly, it is thing plus wings. If you want something to be big, you drop the mushroom on top of it in order to make it big. If you want to change between different types of piranha plants, there's no like hold and then see like a drag down of them. You actually have to like hold on to it and then shake it as though you're like shaking it into something else in order to like drop it down on something. And like all of it, once you figure it out, works. However, there's like a discoverability problem, and so it's kind of at odds where you have this really elegant textless interface, but you have to go into a manual to really see what the extent of it is. And that combined with the fact that it kind of meets out your tools or your blocks in a very measured way over the course of several days is something that kind of like limits you. Like, it's not just, okay, now you were not able to put Bowser in here before, but now you can. Like, that doesn't limit you too much, but like sometimes there's like, if you want to make an auto-scrolling level, or if you want to have moving platforms follow along a path, like that stuff is a couple days down, and you have to put in some time in order to get that stuff in. So if you have an idea for a level that you want to execute on, all that stuff is kind of gated behind you. And I'm of two minds about that. I like the idea of this thing letting you get in there and, just kind of like, we're going to limit your tools so you understand what this stuff is, and we're not going to drop it all on you at once because this will be overwhelming. I don't think that's like underestimating the player. I think that's, to a certain extent, good design. However, what it means is your first week with this game, regardless, is kind of going to be an extended tutorial where...
Well, because my understanding is literally the unlocks are time-based.
Yeah, it's like day based. So you go in and every day you have to do like 5 minutes of creation in order to like queue up a shipment for the next day of this new stuff to come in. And 5 minutes for me, just kind of like over the weekend, has been enough time when I haven't been interested in like making something or like working on a level that I've that I've started. That 5 minutes is usually enough time to pull down and check every different block and see how they all interact with each other. And so like, okay, you put in 5 minutes and then you come back the next day and you get more. And eventually there will be enough there. I kind of wish there was a safety valve where it's like, okay, you know what, I kind of feel like this, but that intentionality, I'm fine with it because I've never felt particularly limited. I kind of want to have it given to me in measures.
So do you think Mario Craft is a good descriptor of this game?
Maybe. From a creation standpoint, yeah, like it's super cool to do like the trial and error kind of thing. Like you just make something and see what it's like to like work, run around in it. Or if you're making the stuff, like Minecraft for me has always been more of like an endless survival game as opposed to like something where you build a bunch of stuff. Like the building is something you do to pass the time as you're, it's like you set a goal for yourself. Whereas this is pretty much like you have a blank canvas, or you start with a level, or you go in and you play somebody else's levels, which pretty much universally are either auto playing things or are levels that just have no breathing room whatsoever. It's like, here, just piles upon piles of Goombas, have fun, fireballs everywhere, blah, 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 spam me with a bunch of stuff. Like, I really want more chill stuff to like sift to the top. Because like Mario is a very deliberate game, and just making it a whole bunch of bullet bills and stuff is not where I want it to be. Yeah. Also, like the aesthetic is just wonderful. when I loaded it up, it was pitch perfect. Like I got it on Friday night, like on September 11th. It got in and I popped it in and it did the little install, which is super weird on a Nintendo game for a Nintendo system. And like the loading screen, it's like a picture of Mario in his little construction cap, and he's like holding up like a thumbs up or whatever. And every day, like if for a different day, there's like a different little thing that happens. Like a magic Koopa will come in and turn you into a Goomba, or like Luigi will come and shoot you with a fireball or something like that. But on Friday, like the very first time a lot of people were able to play it, what happens is one of the flies from the fly swatting mini game from Mario Paint comes in and like picks up Mario, and then like the little like the fly swatter kills it, and then it and then he drops down. It's like, how pitch perfect is that? Because like Mario Paint is super obscure, but for somebody my age who had a lot of experience with Mario Paint and who played a shitload of that mosquito swatting game, like that was just like, okay, I understand exactly how they want me to feel, and like hook, line, and sinker, guys, you did a good job.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Question. Can you make a row of bullet bills that spin around in a circle like the flames do?
Not that I have seen. I've only ever, so you get the cannons, but you can't just spawn a bullet bill as far as I've seen just yet. That may be coming down the line.
Okay.
But for right now, it's just a matter of like putting the cannons in, and kind of setting their interval like that.
Can you mess with gravity at all?
No.
Okay.
Not that I've seen yet though. Like there's still a bunch more this game has to show me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yay.
It is really good. And then the other thing I've been playing is a whole bunch of like Metal Gear Solid 5. But I assume that is what you're going to talk about, Ben.
It is.
Cool.
So that could be a nice segue. How many missions have you completed in the game now?
The main quest line, like I'm on like 23, 24.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what percentage?
Weirdly about the same, like 22% or something like that.
Okay. All right. I'm not terribly far. I maybe did like 3 or 4 more main missions between this week and last week, but I also started doing more of the side quests and kind of getting a feel for the rhythm of the game. Yeah, so it's I've kind of explored more of building up the base. That's become more of the focus point of the game. It's pretty cool, I guess. I still haven't unlocked intel units though, so I'm still pretty early in the game, I think.
Right.
But I've gone through enough of what's been unlocked so far to kind of see where it's going, because they kind of I guess billboard kind of what's going to become available in the next few levels, the more people that you capture.
Yeah.
But I've done a few different missions. So I've done like a mission where you capture a smart person. I've done a mission.
I love how vague that is.
Yeah.
for as like central as he is to the story.
I've done a mission where you kill a mean person, and I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I assume that missions like that will continue to come up, but maybe in different forms.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think it's weird. For every mission that you do, there is a credit and post-credit scene. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. If that was like,
they will credit everything from like the scenario designer all the way down to Master Miller's sunglasses, his brand of sunglasses, down to like they will say this tank appears in this mission.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't understand that, but I don't dislike it, I guess. So I don't know.
Have you unlocked the ability to play music from your chopper yet? This is very important.
So I did, but I haven't done it yet. So I did the R&D to unlock it, but I haven't gone through and done that.
Okay,
yet.
so here's a pro tip. Like it took me a minute to figure out how to do it. You have to go into your tape player and you have to like it's the tapes all the way on the right, and there's one that is just like music, and it gets all the licensed music that you can get. When you highlight a track, you have to press square in order to mark it as it goes. I'm playing it on PS4, so I can't do any custom songs. Okay. My default has been Maneater by by All in Oates, because that bass line, like when you hear that sweeping over, and by the time Pequod gets there, you got the sax picking up and giving you the sweet jams. I found a tape for the final countdown, but that's not mine. That's Jove's. So I tried the final countdown, but it felt like a bit much.
Okay. So one thing I want to comment on the missions that I think is kind of cool is destroying the base assets as a way of distraction, as a way to get to the objective that you need to get to. Have you played around with that at all? Or
yeah, I love C4. Like
yeah.
I am nothing but C4 and trank darts, man. Like I will set up C4, and what's great is the C4 charges will go off in the order that you plant them. And so, like I will find their comms and I will find their anti-air, and I will, plant that and just be like, get up to a remote place, and I will use that as waypoints to drag the guards where I need them to go.
So you can do that one at a time then? They don't all go off?
Right.
Oh, okay. I did not know that. I've been just holding down and letting it rip. But
Yeah, no, that's really cool. It's fun to see an entire base of exclamation points go off at once. Yeah.
Who's your buddy? Are you still rocking D-Horse?
Yeah, I haven't got another buddy yet.
Okay. Yeah, they'll start coming quick.
Okay.
Yeah, and they all play very differently. Sometimes it's difficult to determine exactly how they're going to affect specifically Quiet. Once you get her, I would go and actually like look at how to use her most effectively. She's the one who like her usefulness changes the most depending on your relationship with her. Like you have to like gain her trust to like get all of the stuff that you need in order to do.
Okay. Yeah. I haven't seen that character yet, but I did read that they have patched that so that the issues that was previously in the game on 2 of the missions is no longer an issue. So.
Do you have any kind of like, holy shit, I can't believe they accounted for this moments, or like during a mission, something that like went wildly unexpectedly but still worked out?
Not yet. Nothing that out of the ordinary, I would say. I mean, I think it feels like typical Metal Gear so far, or maybe kind of like Hitman 2, where a lot of it's been like making it 2/3 through the mission and then maybe going, oh shit, and then getting my gun out and shooting people. But it's mostly trank as many people as you can and evac them out there. Or I forget what the name of the craft is, the balloon.
The Fulton, yeah.
Yeah, Fulton as many people out of there as you can, and then go loud when you need to. So
for real, like just the idea, like even if I intended to just discharge them because their rankings are shit, like eventually you really have to start paying attention to that. Even if they're straight E's across the board, I will Fulton them just because it takes them out of play.
Yeah.
You know, man, I kind of wish that. So the gameplay takes place in 1984. So you cannot have Enter Sandman as your as your chopper music. But like that's who I play as. Like I'm going down. I collect Sleepy Boys like I collect Pokemon. Yeah. So I kind of dig, and I want to get your feeling on this too, that like once you accomplish your objective, the mission isn't over. And that's a huge change, because usually in a Metal Gear game, you do what you need to do, and then there's a cutscene that delivers you to the next segment of gameplay. But you have to infiltrate, and then there's the exfiltration, right?
Yeah.
Like, did that throw you for a loop too? Just like you get cocky a little bit?
I haven't had too many problems with it, because most of it is just sprinting as fast as I can. And so I haven't been cut off. That plan has worked so far, but I imagine that'll probably be counted against soon. So, yeah.
So I had one anecdote from tonight. I was getting just a little bit of Metal Gear in, because it just gets in your head, and you have like I need to accomplish this goal, and with like the state of mind that I've been in recently, it's been nice to like disappear into it. But I was like, okay, I'm going to accomplish this so that way I can have like the weapon customization later on. I was coming up to a guard post, right, and I spotted the one guy, and then entered reflex mode because he saw me, and I had my tranquilizer out. So I'm like, okay, no big deal. He's wearing a helmet, but I can put this between his eyes, and he'll go right down. But what I didn't realize was behind the building, like kind of out of sight, but in a doorway, there was another dude. And so I'm like, all right, no big deal. I just showered, so I have plenty of reflex. And so I just kind of like sidestepped to the right, and I figured, okay, well, I put this one guy down, and I'll just get the other one down. And what I usually do after I get them, especially if they're some of the first people I get, I will kick them when they're asleep and wake them up, and then interrogate them, because that highlights the goal, right? Like that's a way to get
smart. Yeah.
I know, right? So and then you just choke them out again, then you Fulton them back up. So the first guy that I got inside, no problem. I threw him out the window, and I Fultoned him, and then I went to wake up the next guy. However, I noticed that there was a puddle of blood underneath of him. I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. I shot him with a dart. What happened was, and I realized that I saw this in the reflex mode, but I didn't think it would do this. I shot him, and the way that he fell, his head hit against the side of the building, and that killed him.
Whoa.
I know, right?
That's surprising that they would take that into account. Because they're at least in the Ground Zeroes demo, they did not have that good of collision detection. So that's pretty interesting.
So if that story doesn't make you like add this to your Amazon cart right now, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I was like,
solid collision detection. Yeah.
like, if he would have fallen any other way, but just the fact that he pitched forward and hit the corner of the building, like that's some like rogue level modeling or like Dwarf Fortress level shit. Huh. So yeah, that's that's pretty great. I'm excited for you to see more of it, honestly, Ben, because there's
Yeah.
So did you have any kind of final thoughts on Metal Gear Solid 5 this week, Ben?
No, I mean, I think I'm just getting in the rhythm of it now, so I'll probably just keep continuously playing in it. I'll be interested to see like what more than base management there is, or like basically how that ramps up, or like, you know, like, because right now it seems very similar almost to like a mobile game, and I'm not trying to say that as an insult or anything, but it's like a lot of kind of micromanaging sort of things, and so it'll be interesting to see how that develops. So yeah, and
it very much is an extension of like Peace Walker, like, which was you know, a very portable experience like that. And that plays in some really cool ways. Like it will evolve, it will get more interesting, and that kind of like links in with all the other systems in a very cool way. Yeah. So I will tell you, hold out hope. It's good that you've noticed that it's important, because I didn't at the beginning, and I had to do a little bit of catch up. But if you just keep folding people and do a little bit of management to make sure they're in the right places, even down to just like auto assigning people, then that is going to be that will serve you well. Yeah. All right. Let's move on here. We didn't notice, but David kind of dropped from the call because of technical reasons, but he's back now.
I dropped into the ghost ether.
Yes, ghost hacks. Skype is a piece of shit. Ghost hacks. So David, what you been playing?
Sure. Yeah, I kind of referenced it. I've mostly been doing various stabby things this week, so I haven't gotten a lot of time for playing. So I would say from that end, I'd say the biggest thing I've done, you know, maybe a little bit more with Little Big Planet. I don't know why I want it to be that. With Splatoon.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know quite what to say about it. Overall, I love its aesthetics, and you know, a lot of the things it tries to do, a lot of its style, stuff like that, but I actually don't think it's a particularly great game. It's I know there's very little variety in like loadout or weapons. You know, there's only about like 5 weapons in the game, and most of the other weapons you can theoretically unlock are because they directly tie what weapon you use to what grenades and such like you're allowed using. And then, you know, the other thing, it's just, you know, there's only 4 players on a team. You know, matches are only 3 minutes long. You know, everything's just very simple. And I don't know, I kind of hate to say it, but I feel like the games, unfortunately, comes across as just kind of a dumbed down third-person shooter.
So I don't think anyone's talked about this game yet, maybe on the podcast. But so what's the point of like the matches that you have? Like, what's the objective?
I mean, the objective is to paint more of the floor in your team's color than the opponent has painted in their team's color. I mean, from like an in-world standpoint, it's presented as being like the most popular sport, and yeah, it's kind of, you know, similar justification to like a, you know, I don't know, like a Pokemon or a Yu-Gi-Oh, by which I mean there is none.
Okay, so have you developed any strategies as far as like what's an effective tactic to use?
Yeah, I would say this is actually probably the most interesting thing to me. is I feel like there's actually, it ends up being like a game theory-esque, like pseudo prisoner's dilemma type thing.
Mm-hmm.
In that, like, in terms of marking your territory, the right answer is always paint roller.
What is that?
Which is basically, you've got this just giant freaking paint roller that, as long as you hold down the fire button, you'll just, as you move, you leave a swath of paint. And that's by far the most effective way to cover large amounts of areas, just to run back and forth across them.
Okay.
But on the other hand, it's only it's a melee only weapon. And so, having a competent person with a paintball gun can take you out.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like a pretty good trade-off to me.
Yeah, oh yeah, it is. But I would say what's interesting is it ends up being a thing where it's like, on its own devices, the optimal team would be everyone with paint rollers. But as soon as at least one of your opponents elects to, equip a gun, it then becomes, in order to be optimal, you have to have a gun too. And,
So it's an arms race?
Yeah, I was going to say an arms race.
One, it's more a thing where it's like, well, then you can go the other way and be like, well, if I was going to just try to take out my opponents, the most optimal thing would be for everyone to have a gun. Mm-hmm. But then you are just not that competent at actually claiming land. Mm-hmm. So it ends up being this like weird, like I said, prisoner's dilemma thing where like the alternative or the optimal option is everyone agrees to run paint rollers, but as soon as one side stops playing nice, then you have to stop playing nice too.
It's like snipers on 2 Fort. Actually, in Team Fortress Classic.
Yeah, it's very much like that. Yeah, that's actually an excellent analogy. So
is it only paint on ground that counts, or can you paint like walls and like, I don't know, structures?
You can paint walls. It does not count towards your score. To the point where like that's kind of become one of the running jokes, is the fact that the game never really explicitly tells you that. So like I referenced like the Miiverse doodle drawings, and like common ones are like people being like, dude, paint the walls, they're worth double points. But on the other hand, so they are in fact worth no points. But the other thing is you have the ability to turn to a squid and swim very fast through anything that's painted in your color. Which means if you paint walls, you can then swim straight up walls. So a lot of the platforming requires you to paint walls, even though the scorekeeping does not.
Are you playing this primarily online, or are you playing it single player?
It is, well, I mean, the core game, well, I mean, I guess this is all up to personal preference, which is the core game, but the core game is online only. Mm-hmm. Like that's kind of what it leads with. Yeah. On the other hand, it does have a single player mode, which I know I've only gotten a little ways in. I've just beaten the first boss, but I do know that the general consensus seems to be that it's amazing, as maybe even better than the rest of the game. So, that's.
I mean, primarily when you're doing these matches, are you playing online?
Yes, I am.
I need to ask though, how do the bosses work?
The one I was fighting, it was this giant like. Basically, this octopus enemy that is inside this giant metal cube. And so he sort of does like the block dudes in Mario 64, where his attack is to like face slam the ground. and he has
you said cube, right?
yes.
Okay.
And he has a weak spot on his back. So basically, you have to wait till he face slams, paint the side of the wall, and swim up his side in order to get to the weak point. And then, like as it goes on, it gets more and more difficult to do this, to the point where, like, I want to say maybe at one point, like there's certain things you can't paint, and so it's like there's like 3 moving platforms that can be painted and nothing else can. So you have to like time your swimming in order to like get these platforms and things like that.
Sounds fun.
Yeah. So that's fun. I know. Like, I think a lot of it for me, from a multiplayer perspective, is I think it's just too simple. And I think also there's no hit scan weapons. All of the weapons are like these zany, what if you just chucked a bucket of paint at people?
Mm-hmm.
And, it's sort of the same problem I had with Team Fortress, which is, it's really great to be like, oh man, is your ideal class the spy who can like shapeshift and stab people? But the problem is my ideal class is gun haver, whose special ability has gun.
Mm-hmm.
So
Isn't there just a straight up army? Wait, are you? Never mind.
there's not in either Team Fortress or Splatoon.
There's not like a straight up soldier in Team Fortress?
The soldier in Team Fortress is more about rocket launching.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all about like learning how to rocket jump and how to do like precision hits with your slow moving rockets.
Yeah. Granted, there are probably loadouts that make it more about the shotgun than other things, but that is at least my understanding of it from the time that I played it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, overall though, the game has a lot going for it, and like in terms of just the game's presentation, personality, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
I love its I love its weird, like all the characters speak this sort of version of like Simish kind of that I think is just like, I think maybe there's like just a rapid like sound associated with each letter, and so words are just like them saying the names of these letters. Kind of like, I think that's the way they construct it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But there's also like in-game like hip hop songs that are all the lyrics are done in this incomprehensible Simish.
That's great.
Yeah, and and like with the songs, like I really like all of the stores play the same song, but they each adjust the style. So like the shoe store adds in a whole bunch of like record scratches to the same song that all the others are playing, so that they're all like subtly different. So yeah, it's interesting. There's currently a Splatfest going on, which is apparently players take sides. It's sort of, I think, like an aggregate, like which side will win thing.
Yeah.
But they do it with they each time have 2 like opposing things that they arbitrarily choose to be the faction. So like previously they did Autobots versus Decepticons, and this one is art versus science.
So it's like a coffee shop tip jar.
Yeah, exactly. Except with throwing ink at people. So like what a coffee shop tip jar should be.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah. So, is there anything else about Splatoon or any other games you got on deck?
No. I think that's really it. I'm currently just stuck in kind of planning what my next thing's gonna be, whether I'm gonna take the Mario Maker plunge or do something else. So
I encourage it. It's really good.
every time I see Mario Maker, I just my first thought is like how I want to do a timer for how long is it before Allison successfully recreates Mist in Mario Maker.
Yeah, I let me know, please. Jala, how about you?
Okay, well, up at the top, I want to do a few co-op mentions as usual. For Guild Wars 2, Chase, Sam, Noah, Conrad, and I beat the Ascalonian Catacombs story mode dungeon and are preparing to do explorable mode next. Dennis required that we give our squad a name and suggested Quack Team, which kind of stuck, although he meant it like a joke. You know, saying you guys are a bunch of quacks if you don't have a name.
Oh.
So
Couple of fish.
I think you should probably be quacktivists.
there you go. But so there's that. And I've also been playing Abyss Odyssey with Chase and Alex.
Mm-hmm.
And Alex and I got to the Warlock again, but I still didn't get to beat him this time. We got him to like half health and then we died. So rats. Okay. Also, I already mentioned it earlier, but I played more of Leviathan Last Day of the Decade, and there's actually been a lot of cool chat about Leviathan in the level channel on the Slack. But I'm still discovering new content, and I've played through this game like 5 or 6 times now. So I'm still finding stuff that I didn't see before. And I'm doing, like I said before, an evil run through. And I did this on my iPad, but the iPad and iPhone only have up through episode 3. I'm going to be doing it again on my Steam version because that has all the way through episode 4, which is as much as has been released so far. I got in touch with Lostwood recently, and they said that they are making an Android version that should be dropping at the end of October or early November. So they're going to be dropping that, and then they're going to be doing the English translation of episode 5 after that's been released. So that's the thing. That there's nothing else to say about that. I just wanted to drop those little tidbits. Now, for other games I've been playing, first things first is Forget Me Not, which is a game made in 2011 by listener and patron Brandon Williamson. He was giving out some free codes in the Slack channel, and I picked one up and played it. It actually is pretty similar to Pac-Man 256, and in fact, Brandon knows one of the guys on the Pac-Man team who dropped the little white square with eyes from Forget Me Not into Pac-Man 256 as an unlockable character.
That's great.
And it's the same principle as Pac-Man. You move around in a maze eating dots, but you shoot, like weapons, like lasers, bullets, I don't know, stuff out of your mouth in whatever direction you move in. And you can kill things that chase you, but these bullets or whatever will also hit you if you go on one of those looping paths. The bullets will catch up with you and hit you and kill you. You can collect flowers, which the Forget-Me-Not is, the titular thing that you're looking for, the little flower.
Jewelweed.
And you can also get food and whatever else. You can also wall grind, which is something you can do in Pac-Man as well, where you surf along the wall to speed yourself up. The enemies, though, unlike in Pac-Man, you are not the center of the universe in this game. And so the enemies just kind of do their own thing. And some of them are shy and they run away from you, and others are really aggressive. They attack each other too. Like I was so excited the first time I was running through this thing and I saw 2 things pop up on the screen. I'm like, oh crap, they're gonna come and get me. And then one of them turned to the other one and just beat its ass. I'm like, yeah, awesome.
See, I just imagine like Jala megalomanically turning the ghosts against each other until it's like, but you want to defeat me, but you are too weak from infighting among yourselves. Now I rule the game.
Call it Doom Rules.
Well, so I just wanted to let everybody know about that. It's really cool, and Brandon's really cool. He's a nice guy, so I would definitely suggest that you go check it out. And, again, the title of that is Forget Me Not. So it's a good compliment. Cool. Yeah, it's definitely a compliment to Pac-Man 256 too. So like if you like those Pac-Man-esque type games, you certainly need to try that one. So
So besides turning the ghosts against one another, do you have any other ghost hacks? Ghost hacks.
Ghost hacks.
No more on that one, but I do have a couple of other games. I've been playing a bunch of little random stuff. So next one up, this is the one that has made me very excited. Fist of Jesus.
Okay.
It is both a short 15-minute long live action film, which you can watch on YouTube, as well as a very, very silly and irreverent beat 'em up from Spain. It's on mobile and on Steam. You can get it in the Humble store too. Anyway, the premise is that Jesus botched Lazarus's resurrection, and when Lazarus came back to life, he started biting people and turning them into zombies. So he's some kind of like self-resurrecting lich. And it's now up to Judas and Jesus to take down the zombies and Lazarus. So that's what it is, and it's just like it's just a little simple beat 'em up, but it keeps on introducing new weapons and new abilities. Like you can throw fish, you call down the stars of Bethlehem to annihilate people, you can walk on water. Like, yeah, it's really kind of like hilarious. And Judas has a Judas Kameha, which is like a Kamehameha from Dragon Ball, and blasts across the entire screen and destroys everything. And there's an ability I haven't unlocked for Jesus yet that is Jesus bread. I don't know what he does with the bread, but
does he turn into the bread and then turn back?
I don't know. I will say that on the mobile version, you can only play as Judas, but if you have the PC version, you can play as Jesus or Judas. So,
and you don't stop until Lazarus is dead again.
Yeah. Well, I actually already beat Lazarus once, and he's like, "I'll be back." Because he's resurrecting all the time. Also, you can stun enemies by beating them with your fist or a stick or something else that's a blunt object, and then there's a little bar that appears, and if you hit the button at the right time, you enact a divine punishment. The first one that you get is where you rip the enemy's heart out and offer it to God. And later on, you can rip their heads off with the spine still attached and dismember them with a swordfish.
Jesus.
And yeah, it's really violent, but it has this super adorable, cutesy art that is just so like cheek pinching. And it makes it funnier than it is disturbing, even though it's really disturbing. And the little video, like the live action movie that you can find on YouTube, that's like 15 minutes, is just really silly. And it's totally B horror movie, making fun of itself, killer clowns from outer space type stuff,
What's the name of this game again?
Fist of Jesus. And there is like the title, the way that the title is announced, I need that as a sound clip so it can be like my email. My email noise on my phone. That would make me so happy to have it just go, Fist of Jesus. Awesome. And it like even just little things like when you finish the level, it says level glorified and like a dove flies across the screen. and it's pray to start. And yeah. Huh. It's really, really silly. It's very bonkers and off the wall. And a lot of the, like, if you go to fistofjesus.com, they have a store with a bunch of, like, campy merchandise. And some of the stickers and stuff that they have look like Garbage Pail Kids cards from back in the day. So it's very, very silly. So that's just been fun just because it's actually a really fun little game. Huh. The thing that makes me sad, though, there isn't any co-op. It needs co-op.
I mean,
it's a beat 'em up and you've got two characters. I don't know if they're planning it because they do have two characters that you can toggle between on the PC version. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they are planning it or not, but it needs it.
So. Do you have to pay up front for it or is it free to play?
It's free to play.
Wow.
It's free to play, at least on the mobile version, but you have to pay up front on Steam for it.
Okay.
And if they got co-op in this game, if they developed that aspect of it, I would be in heaven. So,
pun intended?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Took me a second.
So I've only been playing one other thing. It's another random small thing. A Bird Story. It's an hour-long wordless indie game by Freebird Games that follows the story of a little boy who finds an injured bird. The story concept, music, a bunch of the pixel art, and the animation is all generated by a single auteur, Can Gao.
This is the same team that did To the Moon.
Yeah, and I have that game. I bought that game at the same time, but I have not played it yet. Mostly
Oh,
because this
fucking
one.
fix that.
Oh, I know. That's on my list for something to play next. But you know, I played this one first just because this one was the shorter of the two.
Mhm.
But I definitely intend to go forward and find all the rest of the stuff that they have apparently made 4 or 5 different games actually. So it's not just A Bird Story and To the Moon. There's some other ones that they mention on their website. But anyway, there isn't really much to do in this. You pretty much just follow along and watch what's going on most of the time. But you do interact with the environment and move around at regular intervals. But it's not like there's not a battle system. You don't have to, go through dialogue boxes or anything because it's wordless. So there's none of that that's going on. This is just an incident that occurred in the life of this boy, and you're just watching everything unfold.
Yeah.
It's very fanciful and cute. I found myself smiling and laughing and feeling anxious at different points when I was playing it. It's very charming and definitely a solid experience that I'd recommend. And pretty much that's most of what I've got to say about it. It's really a really charming, really cute game. And as somebody who owns birds too, I'm, I grew up with my sister working with animals constantly as an animal rescue person, and people would give her injured birds all the time. And I actually have a little short story. My sister was given a sparrow at one point that had fallen out of a nest. The sparrow didn't have any feathers, and so she called it Icky Bird because, it looked icky. Mm-hmm. And she,
Icky Bird crane.
Well, she rehabilitated it. It grew, it got feathers, it was able to fly. She let it go, and then it sat outside of her apartment and just kept on flying back into her house every single time she opened the door. So she got scared that it was going to get caught in the door or something, or that like an animal would eat it or something, or that it would fly up on somebody who might, hurt him. And so she ended up putting him in a cage and owned him for like 10 years. And she had Icky Bird, the sparrow, for a long time. So yeah.
Yeah, this is a game that I missed it at.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, the way that it turns is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also like any game from this team, I recommend getting the soundtrack.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, neat. Well, was that all?
Mm-hmm. And just one more thing though about that game. It is pixel art, but it's very expressive. I mean, like if you haven't played enough, pixel art games, JRPG type stuff, and seen how expressive the pixels can get when they're animated properly, like this game conveys a lot.
Yeah, so. It's like it's pushing. The closest analog would be like a like SNES kind of style, but they're doing enough with like weird shaders and stuff. Like everything is color choice and poses to like get this across. And they make those things act. They make those characters and the animals and stuff, do really, really good expressions that kind of convey what they're wanting to convey. Again, I can't reiterate this enough, without any text.
Yeah, and there's a lot of indirect storytelling just from things that you observe in the scenes. Mm-hmm. And then the way that it transitions is literally one scene just melts into another one and just kind of shifts over. And trees, like if at this part of the story, you as the little boy go through some trees, the trees move out of the way, and then you can move forward to that direction. So, yeah. I mean, like, it's really, when I said it was fanciful, it's partially because the way that the story is told is not totally factual, but not totally made up. It's a little bit of in between in a kind of fairy tale kind of way.
Picture the Venn diagram between dream logic, magical realism, and kid logic.
Yeah.
Is the way that this goes. And it works really well because there's really no fade outs. And there's really no like transition, like everything is kind of built into everything else. Mm-hmm. It is, but bleed is the right word for it.
Yeah.
And it's funny because this is, I mean, in a lot of ways it's similar in presentation because it's made with RPG Maker and, has a very similar art style to the Moon. But To the Moon is a visual novel, right? And
was To the Moon made with RPG Maker?
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah. And so, but they couldn't be much more different in terms of the way they present information. Like, it's awesome to see the same developer do something that both relies on kind of like a lot of really charming text and on just like, here's acting and iconography and just deal with it. Like I have a lot of respect for Freebird.
Definitely. I was impressed just with this one game, and that's what caused me to be interested in, what else that they've made. But it also has, without being like I guess highbrow or trying to be highbrow, it comes across in a very artful, not artsy way, if that makes sense. So,
Trust me, anything can be made pretentious.
well, it doesn't seem to me that that's where they're coming from. It comes across to me as that this is just, a very artful presentation of this concept, and, has a nice feel-good aspect to it. So,
yeah, it's pretty genuine. It's very earnest.
Yeah.
In the way, in its approach. Nice.
Yes, and that is it.
Cool. Well, are we all set to button it up?
Buttons.
The credits.
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us for level number 121. We really appreciate you sticking around. I can't think of much in the way of announcements other than to say the Slack channel is pretty fun. That is part of the new Patreon arrangement. You've heard us talk about it. We've referred to it in the discussions as people are kind of getting involved, and it's a fantastic place to be. That's only like $2 a month, and yeah, we appreciate anybody who has gone in there. I tend to add people about like twice a week. So if you donate and you don't get added right away, it's because I literally have to go and manually add you. So, just extend a little bit of grace towards me there. And I'm sorry that there's no way to automate it that I'm aware of, but I'm a tech dummy. Moving away from defensiveness there for a second, is there anything I'm forgetting? Okay, so yeah, the usual stuff, Facebook and iTunes reviews. It's been a little while since we've gotten one of those, so if you have a moment, even just leaving us a star rating does help us out. But otherwise, I've been Cole Ross at Cole Ross on Twitter.
I've been David Moneysmith at Moneysmith777 on the Twitter.
I'm always Jala-chan in most places.
And I've been Merkleizer, Ben Merkel at Twitter. Yeah. Reverses.
And until next time, please share your favorite ghost hacks with us.
Ghost hacks.
Ghost hacks. Woo.
Just in time for October.
Yeah. We got to get ready. We need to make it spooky is what we got to do. We got to really spook it up. Yeah, I only had two other candidates for the title. If anyone needs me, I'll be at the bottom of a well, or at the bottom of this well, and then poetically repugnant.
I also have Chicken Chaser and Steampunk the Crow.
I add, and some of these would have to maybe be cut down, but if you kill an entire town, I'm not sure that counts.
I'm just going to make that entire towns don't count.
Yeah. It's all about the inflection. It's like Vietnamese. I'd go Sax that had giving them a sky burial and self-resurrecting lich. I probably support ghost hacks, but yeah, those were my.
I gave up on thinking for titles after ghost hacks was mentioned.
It's kind of all pervasive throughout the entire episode. So
yeah, we really tied a bow on it towards the end.
Yeah. Ghost hacks.
Ghost hacks.
You realize this is going to be a thing now.
Ghost hacks. I want people to share their favorite ghost hacks with us.
Oh, and Cole, in Abyss Odyssey, there is a monster that you fight against called a mimic that actually throws its armor at you, but it's a skeleton underneath, and it can actually like throw all of its armor at you and then move in that direction. And so as soon as I saw this, to everybody that's played with me since, I've been like, Teletons!
Well, I was actually thinking, with the correct form, term for that. You were suggesting if it did that, how would the last bone get over? I think the logical choice is skelekinetic powers.
No, I already answered that though, because the last bone is going to be the hand, and then it just crawls over like the thing.
Yep.
I know. I kind of support. I prefer some form of like skeleportation.